Hi, and Assalamu alaikum. I hope you all are fine and okay. So, today we are going to talk about one of the most famous novels of William Golding, Lord of the Flies. Before critically discussing it, I would first of all like to shed light on the story of this novel, what it actually is about. So, the novel starts with a group of uh, English schoolboys who are left on an island, and there is no adult with them after their plan is shot down during the war. So, we meet two boys, Ralph and Piggy. Ralph and Piggy, they find a conch shell. Um, Ralph blows into it like a horn, and all the other boys who were also marooned, um, they assemble on the island. Uh, at their assembly, there is a boy whose name is Jack. He starts mocking Piggy because Piggy is very fat, and uh, Jax also runs against Ralph to become the chief of the group. Um, Ralph wins the election, but he declares Jack as the leader of the group of hunters, right? Um, and very soon, what we see is that Ralph, Jack, and Simon, they start exploring the island, and they discover wild pigs. Then there is another assembly, the second assembly. Uh, in this assembly, the boys, they set up some rules to govern themselves. And the first rule is about the conch. It is that whosoever wants to speak at an assembly must hold the conch. During the meeting, there is a young boy who claims that he has seen a beast, calling it beastie, in the jungle, right? But Ralph does not listen to him, and he dismisses it, and he says that um, it's just daydreaming, or it's nothing real. What happens is that Ralph suggests that they should build a signal fire at the top of the mountain so that any ship that is passing by will see its smoke and rescue them. The boys, they use the Piggy's glasses to light the fire. Here, this glasses is the symbol of scientific invention, and they are making use of science, which is a symbol of civilization. So, when they light the fire, so they are a bit careless, and they accidentally set some part of the forest on fire. The boy who saw the beast, he vanishes during the fire, and he was never seen again, right? Time keeps on passing, and they keep on living on the island, and their thought process is developing. Their approach towards life keeps on changing. because this environment is completely different from the environment they have come from, right? Um, so what happens is that like we see Ralph who wants to build a shelter, but tension rises here. He becomes frustrated because nobody helps him uh, in building the shelter. Um, Most of the boys become like they become lazy. They goof off, and uh, Jack is always obsessed with hunting, and he never misses an opportunity to make fun of Piggy. Piggy is smart, but he is quite weak. Um, we see Simon, um, who is quite like a supernatural character who is always busy in meditation, right? So he most of the time he wanders off into the forest to meditate, right? Um, then we see the rivalry between Ralph and Jack. So this rivalry between Ralph and Jack um, is quite disturbing. Uh, how does it start? It starts when Jack forces the boys, uh, those boys who were supposed to watch the signal fire, he forces them to come with him for hunting. Um, they kill their first pig, uh, and meanwhile, a ship passes, but the signal fire is out and they miss that ship, right? So, this is the cause of that rivalry between Ralph and Jack, and they start arguing with each other. Another assembly is arranged, and Rolf calls all the boys, and they hope that they may set the things right this time. Um, but this meeting also fails because most of the younger boys they start talking about the beast, um, and now even like the elder boys are also afraid of the beast, and they keep on talking about it. Um, Meanwhile, what we happen to see is that like since the war is taking place, right? So a dead parachutist lands on the island, not on the island, but on the mountain top, which is near the signal fire. Um, the boys they think that it is the beast, but very soon Ralph and Jake they um, explore the island to find the beast, right? Uh, and in their search, what they see is they found a rock uh, that can make a big fort, but it was not a beast, right? Um, then, like, we see tension between the two boys, and they climb the mountain to prove their courage. There, they see this parachutist, and they think that he is actually the beast, right? Then again, there is a conflict between Ralph and Jake. What we see is the next morning, Jack challenges Ralph at the assembly. His authority is challenged, his power, his bossy attitude is challenged, right? Ralph wins, but Jack leaves the group, and most of young, the older boys actually, they join him. The group of Jack, the people who are with Jack, they paint their faces and start hunting, and eventually they kill a pig, um, and they arrange a feast. Uh, they leave the head of the pig as a meal for the beast. Um, we see Simon now. Uh, Simon's he comes upon that head, and he sees that it is the Lord of the Flies, right? Um, but Simon is actually killed here. Simon believes that this beast is within all the man. Uh, Jack invites everyone to the feast. Simon, he climbs the mountain and sees the parachutist. When Simon returns to tell everyone the truth about the beast, so the boys who are the group of Jack, they are at the feast, and they have become a mob, and they are like acting the ritual of killing a pig. The mob believes that uh, Simon, who is coming from the mountaintop, is the beast, and they kill him, right? Because, as you know, that the mob doesn't think, it acts. Right. So Simon, the poor guy, is killed. We move on and we see that the tribe of Jack, it keeps on moving. They steal Piggy's glasses to make fire. Uh, Ralph and his friends, Piggy and the two guys who are twins, their names are Sam and Eric, but they are called as Sam Eric. They go to get his glasses back, Piggy's glasses back, right? Jack's tribes capture the twins, and there is a boy whose name is Roger. He picks up a stone, a big stone, um, and he wants to break that conch, but after the stone hits the conch, it falls on Piggy, and Piggy is killed. So it's actually Roger who kills Piggy, but it was actually he was destined to be killed by this heavy rock. The next day, the tribe hunts Ralph. They set fire to the forest, as they always do. Ralph escapes, and he becomes like an animal who's who only thinks about his survival and escapes, right? Um, but finally, what we see is that the boys, um, they corner Ralph on the beach, where they have firstly established that society, uh, and where they were actually marooned. The burning jungle has already attracted a British naval ship, and the ship comes there. The naval ship, it is now standing on the shore, and an officer is there who comes to see the boys. Uh, the boys are quite surprised to see that man. Um, when the officer sees all of them quite bloody, and their faces so horrible, he makes fun, and he asks them if they were playing at the war and if there were any casualties. Uh, to this, Ralph says yes, and this baffles the man, right? And he is quite shocked and disappointed that how the English people could act in such a barbarous manner. Uh, Ralph, he starts to cry, and all the other boys also start crying. Um, the officer feels so uncomfortable seeing all of them crying, and he starts looking at the warship from which he has come, and the story comes to its end. Now, what we see is, like, if we talk about it from the critical perspective, I'll be telling you some of the scenes and the critical understanding of the scenes, right? So, in the very beginning, what we see is that there is an English schoolboy uh, of 12 years, right? Um, English schoolboy of 12 years. He starts exploring the jungle, right? The second boy joins him, right? I have already introduced you to the boys. The first boy is tall, handsome, and quite active. The second is very fat and he wears glasses. So these boys discuss what happened and how they are in the jungle now. They are sure that their plane was shot down and crashed, and all the adults on the plane were killed. Um, they think if any other boys have also survived. Initially, what we get to see is that the boys are not named, and since names are actually names represent society, if you are living in a society, you would definitely have a name. Since they have left the society, so their names are not mentioned, which shows that this atmosphere, this environment is quite far from society, quite far from civilization, right? The island where they are marooned um, symbolizes heaven, paradise, like after the death when all the people come and they gather. So this scene actually is a replica of paradise, but we would not be definitely calling it paradise. Yet it has got some connection with that thing, right? Um, so this place is a blank slate for them, and now they are going to bring up their civilization and see how they make up this island as a good world to live, or as something that would mess up the lives of most of the boys. Then there we see an assembly. The boys they gather. The boys are from different ages, right? Their ages are quite like from 6 to 12 and also onwards, right? Um, we see twins Sam and Eric. They are named as Sam Eric. Then there are also some older boys. There is Jack, who is the leader, um, and he wants to control everyone, right? Simon is there, Piggy is there, um, Jack. When Piggy speaks, so Jack also like always gives him a shut up call, right? And he calls him fatty, and he always mocks him, right? Ralph then reveals that Piggy's actually name is Piggy, right? Everyone starts laughing at him and mocking him. Um, this meeting has actually a very important and significant perspective. Um, the meeting shows the effort of the boys to build a civilization. Um, but Jack is someone um, who represents the evil side in humans, and he is not willing to have this civilization. When we move onward, um, we see the electoral process where the boys they decide to vote for a leader. The vote for the leader, right? So everyone in the group they vote for Jack, um, and the other boys, not everyone, but most of them, they vote for Jake, and similarly, the same amount of people they vote for Ralph because he had the conch. Um, so eventually, what happens is that Ralph wins because he gets more of the votes. But to make Jack happy, Ralph says that Jack will be the leader of the hunters, and Jack will lead them. Right? Um, what we see here is that Ralph he has that conch, and he blows that conch, which actually symbolizes civilization. Uh, but civilization alone is feeling weak. So what happens is that he wants to keep Jack happy. So here, civilization and savagery they shake hand, and when civilization is mingled with savagery, the result is always savage because civilization can never mingle with savagery. To move onwards, we see that Ralph decides that the boys they must explore their island, right? Um, they keep on ignoring Piggy, um, and they take Simon with them, right? So Ralph, Jake, and Simon they have they start exploring the island, right? They keep on moving the big rocks, uh, and they think that they have achieved a great thing. These three boys, Ralph, Jake, and Simon, they symbolize civilization, savagery, and spirituality. Simon is supernatural, but he represents spirituality, right? And they all go together, so they all are united here. Um, Piggy uh, is always like welcoming to everyone. So there is a boy who is quite nervous. He whispers to Piggy, and Piggy tells all of them that the boy is saying that he has seen a beast, right? Ralph and the other boys uh, they deny the existence of the beast, but the boys seem to be quite afraid. Jack he holds the conch and says that there is nothing like a beast, and in case there is any beast, so his boys will kill it. And Ralph also agrees with Jack, and he also says that there is no beast, right? Um, the appearance of this beast symbolizes the evil in humans, the evil nature of human, right? Jack is the symbol of savagery. He says that the beast doesn't exist, so he believes that human beings are not evil, right? Um, but he also says that if there were any beast, the hunters will kill the beast, right? So the existence of beast makes him more powerful. And Ralph is the symbol of civilization, pure civilization. So he denies that there is no beast because he believes in civility, and this is what he also shows. Um, Ralph and Jack are not on the same ground, so there is like so much of the rivalry between both of them. And they also have then like some problems when they prefer hunting, right? uh, Ralph, he makes complaints, and Jack is quite offended, right? Ralph points out that without Jack all the hunters should come back, um, and they should not spend their time in swimming and playing, right? Jack is obsessed with killing a pig, is obsessed with hunting, right? But he cannot express it in words, right? So when Jack cannot express his obsession to kill the pig, um, here we get an idea of civilization. See, language, the use of language is actually one of the structural element of civilization, right? So Jack cannot speak it, so Jack cannot make use of language, which shows that Jack has um, abandoned civilization in the form of abandoning the language, right? Ralph and Jack keep on arguing. They argue whether hunting is more important than building shelters, right? So there is a clash between savagery and civilization in shape of Jack and Ralph, respectively. Um, this savagery and this clash keeps on moving, and we see several barbaric acts to the hands of so many boys, right? At the end, what we see is the officer. Like the officer asks them if they were having a war, and then he also makes fun of them, and he asks them if they had any casualty, right? Um, and he is so surprised and shocked when he gets to know from Ralph that yes, there were two casualties, like two of the members were killed. Um, the officer, like, he felt quite disappointed, and he said that he was expecting quite good from the British boys, but he is quite disappointed at this. Ralph, then he starts crying, and they start thinking of Piggy, who was brutally killed, and Simon, who was brutally killed, and all the other boys, they start crying as well, right? The British people, they are quite proud of their civilization. Um, they are quite like they take this pride in their being civilized, right? And when Ralph comes to know that they belong to a civilized race, but they have not shown this civilization, so he starts crying, right? And another thing that is quite noticeable is that the officer, when he gets to know all these things and when he sees all these boys crying, so he start looking at his warship. Now there is a bit of hypocrisy of civilization here. Like, he should have consoled the boys who were crying, but instead of facing the human's emotion, he prefers looking at his warship, which is a symbol of savagery. Um, Thank you very much. There is a lot more about this novel. Keep visiting the channel for the next lecture on Lord of the Flies. Take a very good care of yourselves. See you when I see you next. Good luck. Goodbye.